Welcome back to MLSsoccer.com's Playoff Central, presented by Samsung Galaxy. The gang is here again. Greg Lawless, Simon Borg, Corey Gibbs. A pretty remarkable night all around in the MLS Cup playoffs. And guys, we're going to start right off the bat with the Seattle-Portland game. Portland 2-1 winners at CenturyLink. Let's take a look at the highlights. And it's Ryan Johnson getting the first goal for Portland early in the 15th minute. Clint Dempsey coming close not long after that with a free kick, and then eventually Portland would double up the score with a beautiful goal from Nagbe. At the end, Alonso pulled one back for Seattle, made it a little bit more interesting. Simon, this is a fascinating game. You actually predicted Portland would win.
And I almost had the prediction down. I predicted 2-0, and that was the goal that really got Seattle back in, and it gives them hope, because a 2-0 going into Jewsbury Field, I wouldn't have given Seattle a chance here. Reason being, Portland at home, they've given up 2 or more goals 3 times at home, and 2 of those came in the beginning of the season. So Seattle really giving themselves a lifeline.
Well, go ahead, Corey.
No, I mean, I totally agree. I think they couldn't find to get themselves behind the Portland defense. Right. I think that was the biggest problem. Not enough tact from Seattle, so things are going to have to change going into Portland.
Well, let's find out what's going on with the Portland defenders, as you said. And our own Samantha Yarrick is out at CenturyLink, and she's got Jack Jewsbury.
It's a good game. Ready?
Yeah.
All right. So, Jack, going into this game, did you think you were going to have the amount of room that you did to run up and down the flanks?
Yeah, you know, obviously with Darlington being in front of me, very dangerous. Obviously they were very aware of him. They wanted to take care of him. Obviously opened up some space for me. So it was nice to be able to get a little run and get some crosses in, but a little disappointed to give up one late. So.
Right, it felt like the longest stoppage time ever.
Yeah, they were coming hard. We knew they would. Coming out of halftime, we thought the game might open up a little bit and give us a chance. We got the second one, unfortunately couldn't close it out and get the 2-goal lead going home.
All right, well, even though you gave up 1 in the end, how important was it to come here, get a result, now get to have the second leg at home?
Yeah, very important. We knew all along that we could come here and get a result. If nothing else, we wanted to get out of here with a tie. A win was icing on the cake. So we feel good about our chances going home. We've been good there all year, and hopefully we can continue that.
All right, congratulations. We'll see you in Portland.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. And obviously, the atmosphere was a big part of this. Jack Jewsbury getting the assist on Ryan Johnson's goal. But, Simon, it was another player for the Portland Timbers who was actually, for you, the star in this one.
Yeah, it's Darlington Nagbe. He got the second goal, and that really seemed like the nail in the coffin for the Sounders. And surprisingly, they took him out of the game. Caleb Porter, I think, felt so confident about that 2-0 scoreline that he was comfortable taking Nagbe out of the game. Now, Nagbe moved into a central role after Valeri came out of the game. They were preserving Valeri for the next leg. And so Nagbe with more freedom, and you saw him, I think his best games have come when he's had that freedom, when he's had the quote-unquote Valeri role.
I mean, I totally agree. That's exactly what we saw from Nagbe at this point. And when we see from that second goal, he came all the way from the left-hand side, created everything, came centrally, beat Jimmy Traore one-on-one and scored the goal.
Well, you mentioned Jimmy Traore, and you and I were talking actually during the game about some of the issues with the center backs for Seattle. And both goals really a responsibility of the center backs. They didn't come through in this one.
Yeah, listen, this is a big rivalry match. And my biggest concern going into this match was who's going to be the better pairing. Is it going to be Portland center backs or Seattle center backs? And tonight on the day, it was Portland's. I mean, you look at both goals, and it's clearly the fault of Jimmy Traore and John Hurtado. I mean, on the first goal, they're literally caught ball watching on that one. And the second one, listen, Jimmy Traore was a bit too late on his tackle. Hold your ground, don't get spun so easily, and they slotted it, and it caused them 2-0.
Don't get spun so easily. I mean, look at this goal, though.
It's too late on the challenge.
It is, but the touch.
He knows he's not going to get there first. He has to hold his ground right there. It's too late, and then he has to go to his feet. Desperation of a defender, going on late on a tackle. You got to hold your ground. There's nowhere else to turn but on the outside, on his left shoulder.
Right.
So hold him up, know where he's going to turn, and then make the challenge.
But it is a beautiful turn.
Hey, I'm not going to take anything away from Nagbe.
Now, Nagbe showed up and had a very good game. Right? Valeri actually did pretty well in the 60 minutes that he went. He obviously was not 100% fit to go 90 minutes, they decided. But let's talk a little bit about Dempsey versus Valeri. It's been a conversation that we have had throughout the whole year. And Diego Valeri and what he does when he finds space and he just sort of helps the Portland Timbers move forward. Whereas Dempsey, a little bit more of that attacking always trying to get into the box. Simon, how did this one play out for you?
Well, I think they're two different players in my mind. I know they played the same position today, but I think Clinton Dempsey is not the playmaker. He might take corner kicks. He might get on set pieces. He is not the playmaker. He's a forward. He should be in the box. Valeri, on the other hand, is a number 10 and operates as such. And by the way, he has better teammates around him who also make him look good. And I don't know that Dempsey is in sync yet with the guys around him.
But Simon, haven't we seen him in the past, and also tonight, playing that free role, not necessarily up top, but playing that free role where Valeri also plays, and he's more dangerous in terms of striking on goal. We look today, Valeri was obviously more dangerous in getting balls in certain spots. When we say going to goal, free kicks hitting the post, headers that could have been goals tonight, taking the corner kicks, that's where Clint Dempsey was more of a threat in that aspect.
But in the second half, when Rosales came on, Mauro Rosales came in the game, and he was freed of the playmaking duties, you saw a more dangerous Dempsey, in my opinion. You saw him in the box, and that's where he's creating. Well, that's where he's made his living in his career, in the box.
Two very good chances for Clint Dempsey on free kicks or crosses into the box after Rosales came on. One in the 87th minute with the header that he bounced and it went up over the goal. And then there was also the, that was in the 87th minute. In the 75th minute, he had that chance also in the box when he had that volley that just whistled wide of the goal. So Dempsey is obviously going to be a factor if they can get him in the box. But I think what, Corey, you're trying to say, though, is that he needs to be able to roam a little bit more free to go into those boxes. Not have, you're almost saying the same thing.
He was free in the first half.
But it's almost like he doesn't have the support. I don't think personally that Nagel and Dempsey are on the same page ever.
Yeah.
I think that Eddie Johnson and Dempsey can be, but Nagel and Dempsey never seem to be on the same page. I'd be very, very interested to see, I don't know anything about this, but whether Obafemi Martins would maybe be healthy by the second leg and what a difference he might make.
I wouldn't look at Obafemi Martins for the second leg. No. What I would do, now that Lamar Nagel is suspended, he got another yellow card, I think they put Dempsey and Johnson up top, and Rosales is going to start this game. You saw how different the Sounders were with Rosales. The connection with Eddie Johnson, you saw his first ball in the box telepathically found Eddie Johnson. They work together well, and as long as you have Eddie Johnson, he's that dangerous. And by the way, we haven't seen Dempsey and Rosales be able to connect much because they haven't played together that much. But I think they can connect together as well.
Can you afford going into the second leg so close to change up the way things have been working for Seattle? I mean, Siggy said it best before this game. He said the cohesiveness between Alonso, Moffitt, and Brad Evans has given Clint Dempsey his role to go and play freely.
That's not his role.
And it's helped Seattle because he's playing well with Eddie Johnson in that role. So going into the second match, are you going to change things up and put him up top with Eddie Johnson out of nowhere?
He's going to have to do something, though, because Nagel is definitely out. So he's going to have to make some sort of a change, whether that means Rosales comes in and maybe Evans goes to the other side or something like that. But some change is going to have to come.
I think Rosales definitely has to come in, but in terms of their attack, technically and tactically, have to learn to get ways behind the Portland defense, which they couldn't do tonight.
All right, well, let's get another point of view on this whole thing. Craig Weibel, four-time MLS Cup champion, is with our Samantha Yarrick out in Seattle.
Okay, sorry. Samantha Yarrick for MLSsoccer.com here with Craig Weibel after Portland Timbers defeated Seattle Sounders 2-0. Craig, we spoke a lot about these two formations before the game. When it's all said and done, who prevailed and why?
Well, you got to look at it as a whole and say both teams actually executed well. Early in the game, you saw Jewsbury getting up the field 30, 20 yards from the Sounders' goal and actually delivers a perfect cross for the first goal to Johnson. But in the same time, Seattle created a ton of opportunities with set pieces. They earned corner kicks. They earned free kicks. They earned Clint Dempsey's direct free kicks. And they forced Ricketts to make saves. At the end, Portland held the fort down until the 90th minute. And that was the only breakdown they had defensively. You got to give credit to both sides for creating opportunities. On the road, Portland wins this one, and it's huge to take that goal home.
All right, and what do you think Ziggy in particular learned from tonight's game?
Well, I think what he learned was his team's got some fight and the ability to create chances, albeit not a lot in the run of play, but a number of chances, 15, 16, 17 set-piece chances, which are huge when you go on the road. And I think that's what Ziggy's going to take from this. You'll see the Sounders come out with a lot of focus on their set pieces next week.
All right, and Caleb Porter with a big win, the first for Portland in the MLS playoffs. What is he taking away from this win?
Well, the guy just doesn't do anything small, does he? He takes the job, he takes first place. He gets a playoff game, he wins it, you know, and on the road. I think what he takes is he takes the same team he's played with all year that has fight, that now has the maturity to really be patient in their shape and in their defensive structure. And tonight they were so mature about it. And when they got set pieces against it, were very organized. And I think what he takes home is a team that's focused and ready to go home, defend their home turf, and move on if possible.
All right, and we did see some changes even to his formation late in the game. Valeri out, Nagbe out. What did that do to his 4-3-3?
I mean, I can't believe I saw both those guys subbed off the field. But that's obviously the brilliance of a young mind. And Caleb was aggressive in his substitutions. He did concede the goal late. I don't think that's going to make him happy. But overall, what he did was he protected the legs, he protected his players, and he takes them home fresh and ready for a fight next week.
All right, well, we're certainly ready for that second leg of the Western Conference semifinals in Portland. We'll be there.
Thanks, Sam, and also thanks to Craig for joining us there. Simon, he talked a little bit about the subs of bringing off Nagbe and Valeri and how the game really changed at that point.
It did, and I think what you do in that case is you're inviting pressure. You're basically saying, "Hey, guys on the field, we're packing it in." They were doing,
but you are bringing players on that you think can handle that pressure. Also, Zemansky comes on, Showery Joseph comes on.
Fair enough, but with
So
20 minutes left in the game, is that the message you want, especially after taking Valeri off? And the Valeri sub, I can understand. He has an injury he's carrying. They're taking him. They're treating him lightly. But with Nagbe, I didn't think there was any need. Your game is on Thursday, your next game. Unless Nagbe's carrying a knock that we don't know about, I don't know why you take him off, Corey.
No, I mean, I totally agree. It was a weird decision. But listen, that's how it panned out, and things went the way they did. And Caleb Porter's been good with his decisions throughout the whole season.
And look, they still got the victory, and it is a huge one. Now they go down to Portland for the second leg, which is on Thursday night, and the game will be at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. It'll be on NBCSN. Should be another great one. We'll see the TIFO as well, probably the TIFO response from Timbers Army after the Sounders fans came up big with some TIFO that you should definitely check out. It's all over. There it is right there. Welcome to your nightmare. I think for a lot of this game, the nightmare was actually the Sounders side. Guys, let me just get some quick thoughts about the second leg. 2-1, obviously you want to go home with a lead, but there is a sense, I feel like, I look at it on Twitter and things like that, there's a sense that the Sounders picked something up by getting that goal and feel like they might have some momentum.
I think you saw it in the attitude that Jack Jewsbury had during that interview that he did with Samantha. He's down. You saw the look on Donovan Ricketts' face when he gave up the goal. He was shell-shocked. And you wonder if that's going to carry over into this game. Sounders are very much in it. I think this has thrown that goal at the end, Alonso's goal, through this wide open.
It'll give them momentum. That's not, that's the right thing. But from personal experience, I can tell you that's the hardest stadium to play in. It's a dungeon in there. And for them to need 2 goals, I still think it's going to be too difficult. I think Portland's going to bounce back from this and be ready for the game. And
for the Sounders, they're going to feel good about this goal because otherwise they would have been thinking and people would have hammered home with the stats, hey, you're 0-4-2 all time in the first game of series. And by the way, that goal was the first goal they've ever scored. It was 8-0 up to that point. Actually 9-0 up to that point outscored.
Yeah, and it was actually scored by their holding midfielder, not any of their big name stars up top. All right, well, that's enough for the Seattle-Portland game. Of course, Portland 2-1 right now at halftime. We should explain a little bit about first legs and second legs. There is no away goals rule in place in MLS. It is just a full 180-minute game, both of them taking place at the 2 venues. Let's move on to the earlier game tonight. New England, 2-1 victors over Sporting Kansas City. Simon, I think you predicted them at 2-0. But let's take a look at the highlights. It was actually Andy Dorman, of all people, getting in there on the end of this one after it bounces around, ricochets. We'll talk about that goal a little bit later on. Kellen Rowe puts in the second one in the 67th minute, and 2 minutes later, Aurélien Collin deflects a goal into the back of the net. Sporting had a chance at the end. Dom Dwyer who subbed on and forced a good save from Matt Reese. So, guys, it was not exactly a pretty thing. No. It was pretty drab at times. The first half was really drab, but it sparked to life a little bit in the second half, and the young talent that came out for the Revolution ended up mattering most.
And look, these are two of the best defensive teams in Major League Soccer. So that it was drab, I think we should have expected it. But at the same time, look, there was a letdown here by Kansas City, who had defended masterfully up to that point, and the talent came through. The penchant for attacking that New England has, where they just flooded the box on that first goal, and they were outnumbered, Kansas City were, and during the night, they usually weren't.
And it was something that they didn't do all the first half. You know, young stars came out, they sat back deep, and they couldn't get any chances. But what did they do? They came out in the second half, they were a bit more bright. Jay Heaps probably had the boys running and said, listen, play with your flair, play with your attitude, and just go out there. And they did that early on in the match.
And they did it a lot. You know, Fagundes was really nowhere for most of the game, and then he shows up on the first goal. He's the one who ends up hitting the shot. Let's take a look at this first goal a little bit more, because there are lots of questions about offsides here and there. There's the actual replay. Fagundes with the first shot, ricochets off of Nielsen, ricochets off of Agudelo, and Dorman is right there to put it away. So afterward, a lot of people talking offside. Was there an offside? Well, Simon, what do you think?
On the Fagundes shot, we don't see anyone offside. Then off the deflection by Agudelo, you might be able to make an argument there that Mbongo was offside, or Dorman actually was ahead of Mbongo. So Dorman may have been, but it's by the slimmest of margins. And to expect an assistant referee who wasn't even in line with the play, that freeze frame showed us that the assistant referee was still catching up to it. So I don't think he was going to see it. But again, it's the slimmest of margins.
But it's also, it's good to remember also, though, that when the ball comes off of Agudelo, the assumption that the assistant referee obviously is making is that Dorman is in line with the ball or behind the ball. So anybody who's out there thinking that, well, there weren't two players behind the ball or anything like that, that's actually irrelevant if Dorman is in line or behind, which on the replay, we sort of drew some lines ourselves on our computers here at the office, and we were thinking, is anyone offside? And it looked like Dorman was not offside on that play.
No, clearly. I mean, we looked at it a million times. And from instant replay, Dorman definitely was onside. I think the ref made a good decision not giving the call and to put the Revs up 1-0. I mean, you look back here right now, look, Dorman's in line with Beasler.
But look at the assistant. Look at where the assistant is, how he's not caught up.
Oh, he's definitely behind the play.
Dorman, I mean, depending on where you judge that ball to be, behind outside that 6-yard box, you can make the argument that Dorman was slightly ahead.
Yeah, I think there's actually probably a better argument that maybe Mbongo was offside on the initial shot by Fagundes. But ultimately, the ball did go into the back of the net. Dorman put it away, and they took a 1-0 lead, and then they went from there and got a few more. And actually, we do have an interview with the man who scored the goal. Andy Dorman is up at Gillette Stadium with our own Andrew Wiebe, who caught up with him just after the game.
Thanks, guys. Here with Andy Dorman, scorer of that first goal. Andy, a lot of emotion on the field in the late going, a lot of yelling, a lot of clashes. What was it like in the final minutes trying to preserve that lead?
Yeah, I mean, typical playoff battle. Both teams fighting for everything. The whole game, obviously, at the end they were pushing, and we managed to hold out. But 2-1, we know it's far from over. We got a tough trip on Wednesday. So,
it's been more than 500 minutes since the Revs had scored a goal against Kansas City. What did that goal for you mean as far as just the mentality? The first 45 minutes, they seemed to be comfortable defensively.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a break, and we were just glad to get the goal, and it's probably settled our heads a little bit, and we were able to play a little bit from there. Just disappointed about the conceding the goal, but it's got to go there Wednesday, and it's going to be a tough game.
All right, that's Andy Dorman. Back to you guys.
Well, a little bit of a similar sentiment to what Jewsbury said about conceding that goal at the end. And guys, we talked about it a little bit. The struggles for Sporting Kansas City to get on the board. They were very good defensively, but they had some chances that they just could not put it away. It started with that Bunbury chance in the first half.
Yeah, and Bunbury did well to bring a long ball down from Zusi, and it was delightful, his first touch. But then the ball kind of crept up on him, and he couldn't get a clean shot off. That was their really only good chance of the first half, unless you discount a long-distance shot by Graham Zusi. So, look, the issue is that Sporting Kansas City is not creating enough chances, which is the issue, by the way, they face at home during key playoff matches in the past. They haven't addressed that.
I think the biggest problem, Simon, is because they only have a certain style of play that they're used to. They were given so much time in the first half that they always try to come from the flanks. Zusi was trying to get to the right side and get balls whipped in. Bunbury had a good chance first in the first half where ball was at his feet and he hit it wide. This one time that we saw that they had a chance where the long ball came in and Bunbury had a good chance of scoring. They changed up their style of play, had the ball over the top behind the defense, and they had a chance. They need to mix up their style of play offensively, and then they'll get their goals.
That's been the issue, though, in the past. That's what they've done at Sporting Park when they've needed a result in the playoffs. Go wide, go wide, go wide, whip it in. Not good enough.
Well, they did mix it up later on when Dom Dwyer came on, and he provided a little bit of a different type of a spark. It's still the similar Sporting Kansas City. He had a very good chance, ended up falling to him here, and he puts it off the palms of Matt Reese. Matt Reese, of course, having another very good game. The veteran now. Dom Dwyer scored all those goals in USL Pro when he was on loan. He came back. He scored a couple of goals for Sporting after he got back. This is a decent chance for him. What were you going to say, son?
Here's the big issue. Claudio Bieler, not in this game.
Yep.
Why did you purchase the DP, the big name who can get you goals, if you're not using him in this spot?
Because he doesn't fit into their style of play. Hard-working, gritty, to get up front, close down the New England defense. He's not going to give that. He scores the goal. He scores that goal, but for Peter Bernice, he wants that forward who's going to give the pressure like Sapong will do, like Bunbury will do, like Dom Dwyer.
He's got to start in the second game.
I think
that second match, the second leg, is going to be played in the Revs half of the field.
Don't expect
so
it.
you want that guy. Don't expect it.
I don't think so. I don't think you're going to see Biela there. I think changes will be made offensively. But I think it's with Sony side. I think it's with Dom Dwyer maybe getting a run. But I don't think it's going to be
the other has to start.
Well, we'll see if he does. And it turns out that actually the only one who could hit the back of the net for Sporting Kansas City was Aurelien Collin. It was not the prettiest of goals. It was just sort of pinged around a little bit in the box and eventually falls to him after a couple of deflections. Possibly a chance of an offside, but it's very, very difficult to see whether his foot is in front there or whether AJ Soares or Andy Dorman actually keeps him onside. The Revolution all of course think he is offside. Now, guys, this goal, I mean, the main importance of this goal now is that they go back to Kansas City for the second leg.
Yep. Go ahead, finish.
Well, you're 2-1.
Yep.
You've got the Revolution, they've got this lead, but that goal matters so much to, there's a confidence issue again. We saw it with Portland and Seattle in this one. How does this play out for Sporting?
I think this one's going to be more of a confidence issue in terms of helping Kansas City more than it is Portland. They have that burst now. It's 2-1. They're going to go out with the attitude knowing that offensively things are going to have to change. I think they're more of an advantage than Portland is against Seattle. And I think the biggest change that they're going to do is the offensive way of attacking tactically. What they're going to do also is their outside backs are going to flare up a lot more, which is going to leave them more isolated. But I think with New England sitting back so much defensively, it's not going to be that big of a concern.
The outside backs did not get forward that often in this one.
Sure did it.
Right, for Kansas City. Look, I think for Kansas City, this is disastrous. I actually think it's disastrous to go home knowing you need to score a goal. You've been in the spot before, and it doesn't come easy for them. And by the way, Graham Zusi was invisible in this game.
Yeah.
And if he is your primary attacking inspiration, if he's having an off night, where are your hopes?
I love when you say things like it's disastrous. It makes it so much more fun the next time around when we're going to do this. And
Simon,
we are.
You think he's going to have 2 games like this? 2 games in a row? You think Zusi's going to be at home and produce the same, or be that irrelevant the way he was
Here's my
tonight?
biggest worry if I'm a Kansas City fan. I saw him seem to tweak that knee midway through the second half where he's rubbing it. He just stepped the wrong way. And the reports are that he was icing the knee in the locker room after.
Well, as Corey, I'm sure, can attest to, oftentimes you do ice things after games because you've gone through a lot. All right, well, the second leg between these two teams, Sporting Kansas City will be hosting the New England Revolution on Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can watch it on local TV, and it's on MLS Live streamed as well. So you can check that out. Should be a very good one. Revolution with the 2-1 lead in this already. Now, we will have a live show pregame on Sunday ahead of the Houston-New York game. That's the first leg of their Eastern Conference semifinal. Make sure you check that out. We'll go live at 3 p.m. We will also do a post-game show for that match in particular. And then we'll also have a pregame show ahead of the late game. The LA RSL game, we're going to go on at 8:30. The game actually kicks at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and it's on ESPN. Make sure you check that out. Guys, that's all for us here. We've had a really great night. I hope you've enjoyed it as well. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Good. All right, that's it from MLSsoccer.com's Playoff Central presented by Samsung Galaxy. don't miss all of the action on Sunday. It starts at 3:30. Well, we'll be on 3 o'clock. The game, Houston, New York, 3:30 p.m. on NBC. And then the late game, 9 p.m. LA RSL on ESPN.